gentlemen. I'll take it. Good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope everybody's having a rocking week, especially our friends over in UK. I know you guys are open finally. I know you guys are still having some challenges over there with, the government says you can open, but I know a lot of your facilities are not allowing you to host classes. But step in the right direction, guys. There's hope. Keep faith. Hit the ground running.
Yeah, there's too many things that's happening right now where a lot of people are having a hard time knowing which direction to go. What's the best direction? What can we do? How should we do things? There's just, a lot of things. Just stay focused. And I say that because I'm really having, you know, my days, and, of course, I'm blessed in ways a lot more than others because, I've got where Jennifer goes, uses her therapy, right?
On you?
On me, yeah, of course. So yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. I've got my moments, I've got my days, right? But I just have to get regrouped, and a lot of times I would hold it in for a while, and then I feel like I'm about to bust. And lately I just walk up to her and say, you know what? I'm just having one of those moments. I'm just having one of those days. So yeah,
Hey,
stay
babe, can
true.
you head shrink me? I can just imagine the conversations.
Kind of like that.
No, it's great when you have people, so close that you can lean on like that really support you, not just with words. We've always got those people that cheer us on, but there's
Hmm.
those few people in our lives that really, they know us really well. They know what our tells are, even when we're not telling, and they can really dig a little deeper into what's going on in our lives. If you're fortunate, like John and I, that is your spouse, or your life partner, or your business partner, somebody really close to you that you're, um, seeing regularly, that you don't have to go search them out.
Yeah. Or you can stress them out
You
and
can.
just find the right person or the right mentor.
So I'm glad you said that, because that segues very nicely into today's topic.
It's
Um,
a little phew.
Yep. So we're actually going to flip the script a little bit today. Normally, John and I, as coaches and mentors and consultants, we talk about the importance of having coaches and consultants and mentors in your life and in your business and everything. But today we want to reverse that a little bit and talk about some of the ways that us having had these people in our lives has changed our lives, our perceptions of our lives, the way that we interact with our daily lives, but also to take it the next step further. And, any good student who eventually goes on to become a teacher finds ways to take the lessons they've learned and turn them around to re-gift them to the next generation. So, John and I have had this really interesting journey, having started off with some real trials and tribulations in business, in our lives, in our personas. Even, I was not the nicest person going back a decade, and I still have my moments, and I acknowledge that. But for me to have gone through such a deep, profound personal change, it would be unfair of me to not teach others how to do that, and then to take the next step and teach others how to teach others how to do that. It's a little coachingception kind of thing, layers upon layers.
Yeah, but I mean, the one thing that we all forget is this has been happening since the beginning of time. This has been happening from the get-go. Biblical, time, if that's something that you believe in, or, universal intervention. Every coach has a coach. Every person has, every great leader has had that backbone, for the lack of better words. And that backbone consists of, the different vertebrae. And with that, it really makes a difference because you're no longer standing alone, you know, um, in whichever era you look into. They've always had their people.
Yeah, I mean, you still see it held in our traditions today where, I don't know how they do it in some other arts, but in Chinese martial arts, we have this concept of discipleship
Yes.
where, um, they're more than students. They become our family when you accept disciples. And there are very traditional schools. There's Frank Yi is a very well-known Hung Gar practitioner, very strong lineage, amazing students, thousands of students around the world. And his disciples actually legally changed their last name to be Yi. So there's a bunch of Puerto Rican guys and Dominican guys and Yugoslavian guys and French guys running around with the last name Yi because they believe so powerfully in that relationship that he's their father, for lack of a better term. So even in modern times, we still see this really close relationship based on ancient tradition. Oh, John's getting a chuckle.
I'm sorry. The comment. Yeah. Hey, what's up, girl? What are we talking about?
What are we talking about? What are you seeing that I'm not seeing? Hold on, I gotta pop something up. Man, I hate when the software lags behind.
Denise said, "What's up? I'm here. What are we talking about?" Laughing out loud.
Got it. Denise. So before we go any further, so Denise yesterday had this really funny text message pop up on her website.
I don't know exactly where she's spending her money or how she's advertising her martial art business, but hey, Denise, way to go.
Yeah. So wait a minute though. If you didn't see my comment, my response to your post over in the Market Muscle site, Denise, if you close that sale, I will buy you dinner. I will find out what nice restaurant is around there, and I will send you a gift card to that restaurant if you close that sale. And if you guys don't know, apparently she got a wrong number.
A wrong text?
Yeah, wrong text sending a message through her Market Muscles website. So my challenge is if you can convert that mistaken, misdirected text into a membership, I will buy you dinner. Challenge. Yeah, she doesn't know how she got that either. So as we look at this, I think it's also important for us to define some terms. So let me pop this up. And I'm just going to make it bigger for a second. I know when I make it bigger, the audio is off, so you're going to lose audio for a second, but I'm just going to pop this up for people that are on cell phones real quick. Hold on. All right. So this is what's known as a Venn diagram. They're really popular nowadays in memes and stuff. But the idea is that you have two, in this case, or multiple areas that have overlapping areas of influence. And then we start to define what each one means and what the overlaps mean. So in this one, it talks about the difference between a coach and a consultant. Now, John and I serve both purposes. We are both coaches and consultants for Skillz, and they are not the same thing. Very often, I think in some of the other groups, you see people arguing about, well, how can I ever have a consultant that isn't doing better than me? Or that's not the purpose of a consultant. A consultant is somebody who has an expertise that you hire to bring that expertise to your business, to tell you how to do it exactly step by step, or to do it for you. For example, if I want my school cleaned properly, I might bring in a cleaning consultant. I don't need them to coach me on the mindset behind cleaning. I need them to make sure that my school is clean. And John, I'm sure you've seen this one. When we were working back in telecom, very often you would bring in a consultant who knows the same thing as the rest of us, but makes 5 times as much, and has twice as many days off. But, it's the guy that comes in and has one piece. He's the one that very specifically knows how to build fiber backbones so that I don't have to worry about it and I can focus on the rest of my implementation. That's what a consultant is. And you should have them in your business for various things. I have I use Chris Rodriguez as my marketing consultant. Now, she also provides me a little coaching, which is cool because I like knowing things, but she's a consultant. She has an expertise that I don't have. I hire her. She runs my ads with great results. John, who's a consultant that you use in your business?
I use, we use Chris Rodriguez as well.
Okay.
Who else do we use as consultants? I mean, honestly, I'm one of those people that don't believe in kind of like varying out in different areas. So I kind of like to have that one odds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for us, Jennifer and I talked about it multiple times. Once we found Skillz, that was kind of it for us. And everything that Skillz provides us is plenty enough. But
so as an overall, you have that consultancy that's guiding your business and your practices.
Yeah.
And I agree that once you pick a direction, I like that singularity and that clarity. It doesn't mean I don't have perspective or that I don't look at other things.
Now,
I like having that.
To be honest, though, like in the past, we've had entrepreneurial consulting. We've got, lead generation consulting. Like we've had a lot of consulting in the past, right? And at one moment, we had so many at once, right? And we were following so many people, but we felt like we were just so, I don't know if cluttered is the right word, but our brain was cluttered, right? Because things were not organized. And every consultant had their own way of trying to organize things, and they didn't believe in the other person's strategy, right? So we just were like, nope, forget it. We're done with all that. We're gonna do things the right way.
I think that's why it's so important to, when you hire a consultant for a specific purpose, and I do have several consultants in my business, but they're all unique to their own area of expertise. I don't have two different consultants telling me how to run kids' martial arts. I have Skillz. That's my kids' martial arts. I have another consultant that tells me how to advertise. I have another consultant that advises me on monetary matters. My accountant is my consultant in that sense. It's an added service I pay for my accountant. But you also have to make sure that when you get these people that you base it on your vision. You have to have at least a commonality between all of them, that they're all able to focus on what you want to have happen. So on the other end of it, the consultant knows it. A coach is somebody that's different. The coach pulls it out of you. The coach's job. So when John and I talk to you guys about how to teach a kid's martial arts class, that's us consulting. Here's the best practice. When you ask us about personal development, health and fitness development, like John, you do the nutritional counseling. When you ask us about mindset coaching or vision development, now we're coaching. And our job is never to tell you the answer because it doesn't serve you usually. Our job is to ask meaningful questions to help you discover what your cognitive biases are, to help you clarify your vision and break things down to the point where you feel like you're ready to take the first action step.
So it's what I like to call like the aha moment. Our job is to create your aha moment within your tribe, within your culture, right? We don't want to recreate your tribe, if that makes any sense. We can, but you're Kung Fu, I'm Taekwondo. As far as I'm concerned, they're two different tribes, right? But at the end of the day, we can both have the same aha moment.
Yeah, and that's a good point. A lot of times in the coaching experience, or early on at least in the coaching experience, and John, I'm sure you've had the same, where people say, well, what should I do? Or can you do this for me? Well, no. If you want me to come in and consult and be a business consultant and run your business, that's a very different relationship. I'm going to walk in and I'm going to adjust things the way I want them, and I'm going to run the school the way that I want it. But that's not why you hired me. You hired me to help you create the school that you want, or the business that you want, because not everybody I coach is in martial arts school.
Yep.
Now, somewhere in the middle, between a coach helping you discover and a consultant providing you solutions, there's an overlap there. And I think this is probably the higher level relationship. And it doesn't define it on this diagram, but to me, and this is just the way I rationalize it, so John, you might have a better explanation. To me, this is where mentorship falls in, where I am both leading by example, demonstrating the path forward, coaching along the path forward, but also providing you the tools to create your own path that may be forward with me, may be parallel with me, or may completely diverge from me. But it's still a very close relationship. So to me, that's where mentorship falls.
Yeah, that's pretty good because you're right. Usually a mentor is somebody who's gone through that experience in the past, somebody who's done it, right? And now they're coaching somebody to go through it. They've had the experience, right? They know it. They've had the experience. They know what worked and what didn't work. But at the same time, I'm kind of going, okay, well, you know what? Here's what I think you should do. So whenever you say, I think you should do, whenever you put the ball in their court, it allows them to have those moments of going, oh, wait, I can do what you just did this way. And that will work for my studio because you're giving them the ideas. So yeah, it's a very good analogy. Mentoring is really the right word, I think, to be in the middle.
Yeah, and I think, you can't start in the middle either, though. I think you have to either start from a coaching relationship or a consulting relationship, and I think it leads to mentorship. Very often we have, oh, I love what you do and I love how you're empowering me to do it, but I'm going to do it my way.
Yep.
Which in the grand scheme is wonderful because I love how you're thinking. But in the beginning, if you've hired me as a consultant in the beginning, if you tell me that you love what I do, but you want to do it a different way, well, then you've just negated our relationship. From a coaching aspect, I shouldn't be telling you how to do it my way in the first place. So we've again negated that relationship. But I think once you have a little more in depth with somebody over a couple weeks, couple months, sometimes years it takes to build that relationship, then you understand whys. Like, why did Mike do it this way? Oh, I like that why, but here's how I'm going to express it within my school. So I think that takes a little development as well.
I'm glad you brought up the why, because a lot of times, a lot of the questions that's being asked from clients out there is the why, right? And sometimes they misunderstood or they misunderstand the why because the why that you use doesn't necessarily fit the why that they're going to use, right? Or the why for them. For example, your studio and our studio somewhat has two different whys, but they're in the same alignment, meaning your studio is primarily focused on the skills factor, right? The skills classes, right? Where our studio kind of focused on the skills concept, but we had more of the after school and the summer camp program, right? So it's the same alignment, I guess, but the two different whys, as in like the business aspect of things.
Yeah, it's pretty neat how even though we have, probably 99% parity in what we use as our core business why, but we express it very differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, there is nothing wrong with that. At the end, we still have the same vision, right? It's just how you attract, who do you attract and stuff like that. So, with that, when people are asking questions, if I give them the answer, it may not be the right answer for them. I have to kind of like pick and carry on a conversation until that aha moment, and within that aha moment, within that light bulb, their why pops in.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite quotes is, don't do what the masters did, seek what the masters sought. So even though what I do might not fit for your school, Some of my coaching clients, what I do is completely the opposite of what they want in their school. But we can help get to. I like that aha. One of the things that I'm actually taking I'm taking like 5 different courses right now, but one of them is to become a master life coach. And one of the things that they talk about is like the consultant gives you a to-do list and a coach helps you put together a to-da list. So it's like that aha moment, like, ta-da, I came up with something and I executed it, versus the consultant says, look, if you want the school clean, you do this, you do this, you do this. To-dos are not very exciting, but they need to be done. Ta-das or aha moments, they're exciting. And when we come across them in our coaching calls, it's as exciting for us, I think, as it is for our client. So, we've gone through this process, and I know many of you, you use us as consultants or as coaches, or some of us have that mentor relationship, or you work with others. But today is about how do we turn this process around to those who follow you, whether it's your students or their parents, or maybe members of your community, or maybe you have coaching clients of your own, health and fitness or whatever. Sometimes it's a little hard, just as we talk about, don't look at the way John and Mike do it because it might not match your why. When you go from being student to teacher, one of the beginning steps is very often to mimic. And it's a natural step. But it's not always the most powerful way to interact with your people, because the way that John might interact with me if I go to him for some coaching might not be the best way for me to interact with a client of mine, because my life experience is different. If we all look at a different map, we're all looking at the same world, but we're seeing it differently. So my map might not be the same as your map. So it's important for us, I think, to first do some self-analysis. For those of you that have known me for a while, I didn't used to be such a nice person. My teaching style was harsh, a little old school. I was not hesitant about kicking some stress in class to get the results that I wanted. And I didn't have very many students, but the ones that I did were amazing martial artists. And I've gone through this process of self-examination to the point where now, even though it's in my nature sometimes to jump into an argument, I know I have a lot of cognitive bias about authority. So if somebody tells me, well, you have to do this, my initial instinct is almost like an OCD. What are you talking about? I'm doing the opposite of that. And I hear it coming out of my mouth and I go, okay, let me re-examine this. So there's a lot of personal development that's gone on in my history. And if you've watched John and I, even over the course of the 2 years of this show, we've developed. So I think the first step in becoming a great coach, mentor, or consultant is self-examination. What are your cognitive biases that you hold that, while they may have value to you, it's not to say that they're bad. You have to either own it or change it. Some things you just own. How are they affecting your relationship, though? John, you ever find yourself like coloring your advice a little bit with your own emotion?
Of course. I mean,
how do you catch yourself?
Okay, so for example, say you're coaching somebody, right? And then as you're coaching people, you're pretty much telling them what you should be doing. You know what I mean? Because, a lot of times, if we don't take the advice that we provide others to do it in our studio, then technically we shouldn't be leading, right? Again, you lead by example. And a lot of times I do find myself going, wait, yeah, I've told them to do that, but I'm not doing it. So let me go back and revisit this and see why we're not doing it anymore.
To be fair, it works both ways. Not every bit of advice that we would give is appropriate to us either. So there are things that sometimes I'll advise that I don't do. Maybe I should do them, but they're lower on a priority list, or
Yes.
So that's not a cut and dry, hey, you're not doing it, why should I?
Yeah. So for example, one of the things I wouldn't do is I might suggest for some schools to cut half price on the second person. You know what I mean? We don't do that. I'm not going to do that. But after discussing it with them, we found out that in their area, in their like that small section where their school is, maybe the average household income is very low, right? At that moment, it makes sense to tell them, cut prices on the second person, make it half price. Because now anything is better than nothing, right? Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, you guys know me, I don't do sales, I don't do discounts. I have a military discount because I come from a military background, military family and everything, but that's it. But I will very often give people ideas on how to do discounts because it also depends on the growth phase of your school. Even with coronavirus, I'm in an okay position, not as good as I'd like to be. But I'm in an okay position. Just before coronavirus, most of my programs were full. I don't need to do discounts. But if you're opening a brand new program and you got nobody on your training floor, okay, growth phase is a little different than maintenance phase.
I remember we started out 20 years ago at $40 a month.
Yeah,
wait. I'm sorry. $25 a month. When we first launched, it was $25 a month.
Yep. So 6 years ago, my monthly gross was $600.
Yeah.
100 gross.
Yep. I know. Yeah.
So at that point, it was appropriate for me. We did Groupons, we did freebies, we did huge, stupid discounts on family members. And now we make in a day what I used to make in a month, or more. So not such a bad growth phase, but I would not do the same things then as now. But if I look at it from my perspective and try to coach somebody, I think that would do them a disservice. So that's one of those biases that you have to get past a little bit. So as we go into this, as a consultant, I think for most of us, the idea of a consultant to our students or members is the fact that they are consulting us on how to defend themselves, how to lose weight, how to, in our program, it's how to be more socially active, how to make better financial decisions. So they're actually consulting us for step by step. And I think for most of us, that's probably the relationship we have consultant-wise with our members. Coaching-wise, I think this is what happens. You have your aha moments on the training floor, but how many of us are actually serving as a coach for our students outside of the 45 minutes in class? Now, John, I know you guys probably have a lot of opportunity for this with the after school and the summer camp programs, because you're just time-wise, you're more involved in their lives.
We are. And we're not just coaches to the children. I think we find ourselves to be more coaches to the parents. We all know that when, say, the mom gets pregnant, right? Most of them, they go out and they buy, what's that book called? The First what?
It's been a while. I've been pregnant.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. What to expect when you're expecting.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then what to expect the first few years. Jennifer just reminded me what it's called. And then what to expect at toddlers, right? And it's all books written by an individual. It's all books written by somebody. It was a book that is used to coach, right, the parenting concept, right? But then there is no books that says what to expect from teens or what to expect from this or what to expect from that. And if there is a book, parents don't go out and buy it and read it, right? Kind of like, the book Chicken Soup of the Soul, right? And it has the different levels, different layers. We come in as those coaches to our parents, right? So yes, we're coaching in two different ways right now, where we coach the children how to act, how to behave, right? We discipline them, so we turn them into disciples, right? Kind of like what you said. But at the same time, we go to the parents of what they need to do to discipline the children versus punishing the children, right? When parents come to us and have various conversations, whatever reason, at whatever age, you become that coach. You're not a consultant because you don't have a degree in it. So Jennifer can be a consultant, right? But I cannot be a consultant in that area. I'm always going to be the coach in that
I
area.
think working with parents, especially, it's important to sway to the side of coaching rather than consulting. No parent wants you to approach them and say, well, Mrs. Johnson, see, what you're doing is all wrong. This is what you got to do. You got to take step 1, then step 2, then step 3, and let me know when you're ready for the next step. They will shut you out, shut you down, and leave. However, if you see something going on, remember the consultant knows it, but the coach pulls it. So, Mrs. Johnson, what is the behavior that you're seeing? When do you see it most? How does that make you feel? What are some things that have worked in the past? And you just guide them through questioning. It's almost Socratic method, where you're posing questions that lead them to their own answers that might not even be your answers or where you were trying to lead them, but they work for them. And it's a far more tactful approach when you do it. And if you look at like the parent skills articles and parent skills blogs, you'll see that it doesn't always say, well, you should do this. It says, some people have more success with this, or in my experience, let me tell you a story about a time that. It's very not in your face because it's just a coaching tool. It's a tool to get you thinking about perhaps better ways you could do it that might work better for you and your child. So that's a great example.
That's the difference between being an authority figure and an influencer. Let's face it, no parent, no adult wants to be told what to do.
Especially nowadays, if you go back a generation or two, when it was more of a community effort to raise a child, that might have flown. I know when I was a kid, if I grew up in a really small town for my area, if I got in trouble over on the other side of town, which town is only like 3/4 of a mile wide, I got in trouble 3 times.
Yeah.
Got in trouble by, whoever saw me do it. Mrs. Cerruti saw me do something. She got me and, yelled at me or pulled my ear or spanked me, whatever. Then my mom found out by the time I got home, and I got in trouble from my mom. And then I got in trouble from my mom again for upsetting whoever got me in trouble in the first place. So, in those older times, I think it was a little more appropriate to call up and say, look, you need to discipline your child when he comes home because this is what happened. Nowadays, even if you try to offer advice, the general consensus, I'm being very general, is don't you tell me how to raise my child. We tend to be a little more insular nowadays. So I have a set of bullet points here that are helpful when you are looking to coach someone. Now, these are very general. And they're purposely so because the way that you coach somebody or the venue in which you're coaching them or the topics you're covering might be different than what John and I deal with on a regular day. They might not, but I want to try to, as a coach, get you to start to think a little bit about the relationship that you have with the people around you to help you become a better coach for them and to maybe lead toward that mentorship relationship. People don't quit your school when you are mentoring them, by the way. That's a very deep relationship. They quit your school when you're consulting them. They're less likely to quit when you're coaching them, and they are far less likely to quit if you are mentoring them. So there's 4 main areas of influence that we want to have as a coach. The first one, and we do this, by the way, mostly through questioning or discussing. The first one, I think, is establishing focus. So, if John, you were my client and you came in just saying like, man, I'm having trouble in my business and I don't know what to do. And, things just aren't right. I understand and empathize with your pain. And that must be, it sounds as if you're very stressed, but you haven't given me anything to work with.
Yep.
So I think it's really important for us to establish focus. And, in a coaching relationship, if you signed up for my Skillz coaching right now, one of the first questions I ask is, what's the most important thing that you want to have as the outcome?
At least there is one thing that we know we can start with.
Yeah, and now it's one thing directed by you. It's not saying, oh, well, it sounds like your business is horrible. You need this marketing program, and this is how you're teaching your classes, and this is what you're...
And by the way, we were coached like that roughly about 4 to 6 years ago.
Yeah, do it my way. Stop asking questions.
Yes.
Don't change a thing.
Yeah, it's this way or the highway. And if we did it wrong or we didn't know which direction to go, then something was definitely wrong with us.
Yeah, you're doing something wrong.
That's not a way to coach.
And to be fair, that was for a lot of us, that was our first stepping stone up.
Yeah, of course.
But it was a stepping stone to someplace far below where we wanted to be. So establishing focus. I'm going to give you some of my favorite questions about establishing focus. And I want you guys to think about the answers for yourselves. And twofold, think about how this might apply to your students. So here's my list of 5 favorite questions to help people establish focus in what you're about to try to accomplish with them. So the first is, like I said, what's the most important outcome for this session or this relationship? And this is one of the things that we ask in our adult intake. Instead of, oh, so I'm going to show you self-defense and you're going to lose weight and you're going to make friends. None of that might matter to them. What is it that you're trying to accomplish here? Why are you joining us? Is it to learn martial arts? Is it to, and I let them guide those answers. So it establishes a goal for me to help them work towards. The second one is, what has stopped you from achieving this goal in the past? So in the example of, business just isn't good and I need to make more money, okay, so what's stopping you? Why aren't you making more money? Well, right now martial arts is illegal in my state, so I can't have a business. All right, well, that gives me focus on what to do. Or you might not even have the answer. The next one, and notice how these are building one on another. What would be the benefit of reaching your desired outcome? All right, oh, well, my business is doing better. I could take a vacation, or I can hire more staff, or I can be a better instructor because I'm getting some sleep at night and not worrying all night. Building on that, what will happen or how will you feel if you don't achieve this goal? So what it's doing is kind of putting a little shark in the tank. What happens if you don't get your business in order? Oh, well, I'm going to have to close my doors and there goes my dream and I have people that really depend on me. So we're establishing the importance of why this has to happen. And then my favorite one, what's the first thing that you will do when you have achieved your goal? And what happens here is I'm playing a little bit with your psyche. It's actually your reticular activating system, which has a lot to do with the way that you perceive the world. So by asking you that final question, your brain can't tell the difference between a mindful thought and manifest reality. So what I've done is I put you in a position where you've already achieved that goal. Oh, I'm going to feel great, and I'm going to open a second school, and I'm going to have this many students. I'm going to feel amazing. Good. So now what happens is this piece of your brain, this reticular activating center, sees that as the truth and tries to find ways to make your perception align with this reality that you've created in the future. So now it puts you in a very focused mindset of, wow, now I'm starting to see the things that'll get me to this goal that I already perceive that I've achieved? So it's a really powerful questioning series that you have there. And I really love how it establishes that focus of like, these are the steps. This is why I'm not doing it. Here's my barriers. And it's all asking. They're the ones that lead them through it. So, John, what's your first step? Is it something similar to that, or do you have something different that you do when trying to establish that initial goal
It's
setting?
not it's not so much of something different. I've put together kind of like, because of the Skillz format, and since everything in the Skillz format is all based on the number 8, we kind of put together the 8 different sequence, right, of what it takes to either be a coach or what to look for in a coach. You know what I mean? So for me, it always starts with the mind, kind of like you were saying, a few years ago, my mind just wasn't in the right place. You know what I mean? I didn't have the mindset that I needed to have. So in order for me to create this, I guess, in lack of better words, the relationship, right? I want to make sure that their mindset is in the right place. So the first thing I want to work on is their mind. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that they're focused. You brought up that first, and they're able to pay close attention to themselves, right? Because for me, if you're not within the right mind to know what you're doing is wrong or what you're doing is right, then we're going to be like just clashing the whole day, right? So my first thing is that mindset. My second thing is going to be the trust. Okay. I want to make sure that you trust me 100% in leading you in the right direction. Otherwise, you're always going to doubt what we're doing. Based on the mindset and the trust, it leads us into that relationship, because the fact that you do trust me, the fact that you're open-minded, that you're going to try to follow through with what we're working on, this relationship is going to be open. You're going to be willing to listen, and then it leads us into the tools, right? So if I'm giving you tools to use, or if we're working on certain tools that we're going to use, you have the ability to follow through the tools that we're providing you, so you're able to do things. And then you're going to be in the pool of people that we work with, right? The network of people that we work with. That gives you the ability to not just be coached by me, kind of like in the Skillz organization, right? You and I have our own crew that we coach, right? But somehow one of your guys will come to me, ask questions, and one of my guys will go to you, ask questions, because of the network that we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's really important in all this is for me to find your tempo, like what kind of person you are. Are you a fast worker, or are you a person that likes to do one thing at a time, or are you a worker that's able to multitask? So knowing the person's tempo is very important, because I don't want to overload you with too many things that maybe instead of getting one thing accomplished every single week, you get nothing accomplished because I overloaded you.
I like that, and I think that's really important. And that goes right along with establishing focus. While we're talking about establishing their focus, it's also
Yep.
I need to establish my focus on how receptive you are to certain things.
Yep.
Even to, are you visual? Are you kinesthetic? Are you auditory? Do you consume better by text or video or phone call? So I like that, establishing the trust and also learning a little bit about them. The more I can present the way that they need to learn, just like I do in my kids' classes. I present things different ways so I can meet the kids at their level, and
Yep.
then lead them forward. So I love
And
that.
if you realize it, I started with the mindset because the entire Skillz Foundation falls under the different stages of development. At different ages, things happen differently. So, I get it, you're an adult, right? But I just don't know what stage you're at as an adult.
Yeah, age is not a factor in wisdom, other than the fact that
Yep.
you have more time to try to figure it out.
Yep. So for those of you that just want to kind of go through it real quick, for me, the 8 skills are mindset, trust, relationship, tools, network, tempo, action, and productivity. And I've got it all spilled out to what each one of them does in terms of helping people and when it comes to coaching people. And it was simply because this happened shortly after I, started coaching about 6+ individuals. I started realizing, how with all these 6 people, what was the first thing that I had to deal with at first, right? And then it was built on kind of those relationships.
Cool. Sorry, just checking my notes real quick here. How am I doing on time? 15 minutes. Cool.
We're doing good.
Good. So just to round out my 5, because look, there's different models. As many consultants and coaches as there are, there's twice as many models for reaching people. So I use this 5 approach. I like using 8. I might add 3 to this.
You're probably going to add 3 to it in a heartbeat.
I'm going to add 3. You know me, once I sit down at the typewriter, I can't stop. The typewriter. Yeah. How old am I? So after establishing focus, what I like to do is I start to encourage thinking, both about, what is your actual problem? Where have you faced it before? What could you do differently? So we're kind of exploring in the present. From there, we look at exploring options. So we've talked before about like this no-no meeting idea that I use, where it's basically a brainstorming on steroids. And just going through, and there's no bad options. And in fact, there should be no good options either. If you're brainstorming with somebody and you say, oh, wow, that's a fantastic idea. Psychologically, what happens is they stop thinking of other things because the person in authority, whether you're an authority figure or not, you carry a certain weight, has told them that they struck on the good thing. And they stop focusing on other things that may even come across as better. Just like you don't say, oh, that's a horrible idea, because it decreases the thought process. It's just, okay, cool. What else could we do? We're just going for as many possible options as possible. Then we start to filter out, what has the highest impact, what has the lowest effort, what has the longest term gains. So we start filtering out which of those brainstorming options are probably the most realistic and the most effective. And then my final step is getting those action questions. And I like to do this with leading questions as well, because I want them to come up with their own action steps. People don't argue in general with their own information. That is a cognitive bias, but one that we can use for good. Just like in a sales process, if I can get them to tell me they want to sign up, it's more powerful than me telling them to sign up. So those action questions are really, where it starts to happen. And it could be as simple as, okay, what's the next step? And it almost doesn't even matter what the answer is, because if they give me something unrealistic, and that's where you start getting into like goal setting models, which is, we've talked about that in other videos. When you can get them to steps, whether it's a step to grow in any of John's 8 mindset skill or coaching skills there, or it's just a step on a specific goal, this is where now we lead them through a series of exercises, questions that get them to a realistic goal. Something that is big enough to be important, but it's actionable in the immediate time frame. And we also find out, well, what are you going to have to do in order to make that happen? Well, maybe it is you need a consultant. Oh man, I just have no idea where the cash flow in my business is going. Okay, so what's the next step? I have to hire an accountant because my books are a mess. Well, that's appropriate, unless you want to go out and let an accountant. I hate accounting, so I hired somebody that does it far better than I do. So with our students, looking at these processes, if your student comes to you for learning self-defense, it's going to be a different relationship than if they come to you because they have social anxiety or because they want to lose weight. And it's important for you to establish the focus of what that goal is. And then I like how John leads through the different ideas. So why do you want to lose weight? Is it that you're clinically obese and you have high blood pressure and you're pre-diabetic and your doctor told you to lose weight? Or is it that you don't like how you feel? Or is it that you don't like how you look? Or that clothes don't fit you right? Because all these things are going to speak to both the focus and the mindset of, oh, well, I'm just not pretty unless I lose 10 pounds. Okay, now we know we have mindset work to do. My doctor said I need to lose 10 pounds or I'm going to die because I'm diabetic. Okay, we have physical work to do. It helps us really establish a powerful mentor relationship with our students. So how do you apply this in your everyday relations? I know because you do coaching within your school too, for like the nutrition and for parent skills, and talking to kids is a coaching relationship all on its own. So like, what's an example of an experience that you have in your school that takes all this highfalutin stuff for entrepreneurs, brings it down to the 7-year-old level?
7-year-old level, or just in general?
In general.
Okay, so for example, something that's fresh that just happened, right? You get a call from one of your team members that says, I'm really not feeling well, I need to go. Right? I just can't do it today. I'm having a hard time. It would have been very easy for us to say, oh my gosh, are you for real? What's going on? We got to run a business. You've got a job, blah, blah, blah. Times are tough. We can come up with all this stuff, right? Where it would be as simple as, okay, let's take a deep breath. Let's figure out what we need to do to solve the situation, and then find the opportunity to talk to the person, right? I remember a few years ago, I would have been absolutely livid. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it became like, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
It became very me-centered.
Do you have the sniffles? Are you sick? Are you barfing? No, like, I need you. Like, yeah. It's not, I don't need this right now. Come to find out, that person just needed some time off.
That empathetic view is so powerful. And I just heard in my coaching class that I'm taking, a good description of empathy is, most of us think empathy is just kind of putting ourselves in their place and trying to feel it. But what most people do is they put themselves in the place of another, but still wear their own shoes. Whereas empathy is putting yourself in their place wearing their shoes. And I thought that was an interesting visual. Maybe this person is really having a challenge. I think that's one of the things.
Legitimately speaking, this person is having a challenge. You know what I mean? And the good thing is, she's the person that will share that information right away, right? But at the same time, they let things somewhat build up to the point that they just need that time off. And, again, with everything that's happening right now, if we don't find ourselves to be empathetic and understand what some people go through and find ways to solve the situation, I mean, it could very easily be where that person says, you know what, I'm done, I'm out. Yeah. And then what are you going to do as a business owner?
Then you're in real trouble.
Yeah. But then for that just one simple second, let's say that you're in a situation that you have to take off the evening, that you have to take off the day. You know what I mean? When I went to the studio and I told the person, just go home and, call me later, or we'll take care of the situation later. The person was absolutely apologetic. And I was like, well, what are you apologetic for? Because you disturbed my day? Sure, whatever. But there's going to come that day when I'm going to disturb your day as well. I'm going to tell you, hey, I really need you to do this for me. Can you do it for me? I'm sure you're going to do it with an open heart and open mind, understanding that we may be going through the same thing. All it took was a matter of 2-3 hours. That's it. Yeah.
And not to change subjects, but mental health is equally as important as physical health. If one of my instructors, especially now with COVID and everything going on, you have a sniffle, I don't want you here.
Yeah.
On the same note, if you're having some mental stress that, not your day-to-day stuff, But if you're having the mental stress that you think it's going to impact your job in any way, take the day. That's why you have sick time. I give my guys sick time just for that. You
Okay,
need to be
no,
on.
you brought up something that this is where the healthing coach and the nutrition comes in play. Okay, mental health equals stress. Mental health plus stress weakens your immune system. So if we continue down the path of me forcing them to stay at work, if they're having a mental health issue or a stressful day issue, I can guarantee you a week from now, they're going to get sick. You know what I mean?
This is
So,
one of the more powerful shifts I had in my team meetings. It's from my Kung Fu brother, who's also a consultant in the industry. Now he's more towards gyms and stuff. But Ed Turney, I was asking him, like, how do you do your team meetings? And he says, we have our weekly meeting where we talk business, but I also have a 20-minute session with every single one of my team every Tuesday. That was his day. And it's usually in person, but if they have to do like a Zoom or whatever, that's cool. And he says, they don't talk about work. They don't train. They don't teach anything about business. It's all about, how are you doing? What's going on in your life? Why is that important to you? What's your life goal for 5 years? And even if it's not to be with me, how can I help you achieve it? And because he's doing these life coaching sessions as his team meetings, his people are voraciously loyal to him, where they are just consuming everything that he puts out and training themselves, and they are taking fewer sick days because their mental health and their emotional health and their social health is acknowledged and nurtured, and their goals are nurtured. Some of them tell him flat out, I don't want to be working for you within a year. I want to open my own gym, or I want to go to school, or, and that's okay with him because he knows the better they get in life for the time that they are with him, the better that they will be while they're there. So, that coaching aspect for him is no longer about clients. It's about the people that are around him. And that trickles down. I see the way that his team, he runs a kickboxing gym, the way that his team works with their clients is so powerful. And they're like a bunch of 20-year-olds providing life advice and coaching, and they do such an amazing job because he set that as their culture. He set coaching as their core business. The nutrition that he sells, the gym, the classes, those all support the coaching, not vice versa. And I thought that was really powerful, and it's something that I've been bringing into my own school. All right, so we're coming up on the end here. So let's do a quick recap. So the idea here is that we've gone through a lot of training for ourselves, and that it becomes really powerful for us to turn that training around to those in our businesses and to help them extend that to the next level. We said that the difference between a coach and a consultant is that the consultant is somebody who knows something. He has an answer and he's going to tell you how to do it. They are usually very focused on a specific aspect of your business. The coach's job is to help you pull answers out of yourself. And that somewhere in the middle, according to my definition anyway, is that mentor relationship. And then John and I talked about different ways that we each look at coaching and then extend it to our own businesses, our staff, the parents in our businesses, the kids that even off the training floor, how we extend the coaching idea beyond just being a teacher. So if you guys have any questions about how you can better connect with people and better get them to explore the possibilities of their lives, or you have insight into how you do it, we'd love to hear how you do it. There's so many models out there for success, and learning about other ones just helps us reinforce what we do or enhance what we do. So tell us about it. Put it in the comments, message us, whatever.
Yep.
All
Would
right.
like to see how everybody else does it.
For sure. Yeah, we are not the be all end all of coaches, consultants, or
Oh God, no.
mentors. It's a journey.
No.
You
Yep.
know, sometimes we walk with you, sometimes we're ahead, sometimes we're behind. So,
Yep.
all right, everybody. So now the only thing left to do, like with anything else, is to take some action. So within 24 hours, and we say this all the time, if you don't take action, it goes in the file of things that should happen, but they don't. So find one way, just one way, of a way that you can enhance your coaching or mentor relationship. We already know you're good consultants. You guys are running businesses. You're teaching martial arts or fitness or kickboxing. We know you can do that. Do the other side. See what you can get people to pull out of themselves this week and start it within the next 24 hours. Especially UK guys that just opened up. This is a good time for that, to really empower some people. All right, everybody. That's our hour. We will see our Gold Lifetime members next week, Monday, over in that group. And the rest of you will see on Wednesday. If you have any questions, answers, you guys know how to find us.
Guys, have an amazing week. Take care.
Get it.